Broadcasting to you live from the Orion Spiral Arm of the Milky Way Galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere east of the Rockies. My name is Brian Engelman. And who else is normally here? Mr. Mike Bara is normally here. However, his internet is down in Las Vegas, California. I called it Las Vegas because I call it Los Angeles, California. Las Vegas, Nevada. His internet is down. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some of the stuff he just sent over. I talked to him briefly. And what we like to do here is we predict the games for the upcoming week. And we'll also take fantasy football advice. I know we had somebody commenting and asking who to start last week. So if you're in the fantasy football playoffs, congratulations. I am in 2 football playoff circumstances right now. And I will give you the fantasy football advice. If you have any questions, start them, sit them, ask away. But Mike and I do a segment where we pick the teams. We pick the winners. And so last week I was 12-4, as you'll see on the screen there. 12-4. That is the best record I have ever had. So Mike sends his love. Mike sends his regards, but he also sent his picks. So as we get into the show, I will reveal who Mike is picking for this upcoming week. The matchups in weeks. What were we now? 16. Week 16. Week 16. Jeez. It's crazy. The season's just about over. Playoffs are here. Playoffs? Talk about playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Who was that coach? What's that quote from? Playoffs? Talking about practice, man. Not a game. Talking about practice. Playoffs? Yeah, go on YouTube and type playoffs practice. It's a great compilation between Allen Iverson talking about practice and this coach. What's his name in the comments section? Who discusses playoffs? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. That's such a great line from the podium. So we'll get into all of that and more on today's episode of the Agree to Disagree show. That's pretty funny. I said the Agree to Disagree show. It's the Unhappy Hour sports show. It's strictly football, everybody. Football time. There we go. Okay, so let's get into what we learned in the NFL last week, shall we? And like I said, of course, we're going to go to Mike Bara's picks shortly. Everybody in the chat section, please say hello. Please communicate with us there, and I will try to incorporate your comments, questions into today's program. Now, let's take a look at the games from last week. Oh, I have week 16 pulled up. Let's go back to week 15. All right, so look, the Rams are coming on at the right time of year. This game was ugly. This was the one I remember suggesting Juwan. I thought he would have been a really nice pick, Juwan Jennings, and he had 2 catches for 31 yards. I'm sorry if I steered you incorrectly. But by the way, as all of our picks and all of our fantasy football prognostications, they're all for entertainment purposes only. By the way, Isaac Guerrero, he's injured. He might not even be able to play. They're going to turn to like 2 or 3 other backups. The San Francisco running back position is in shambles, and so are the San Francisco 49ers. If you take a look down here, NFC West, 6-8. Who? If you had on your bingo board that after 14 weeks, the 49ers would be last place in their division, who would have ever guessed that? I wouldn't have guessed that. Behind Arizona, behind Seattle. Well, Los Angeles Rams now have the tie-breaking advantage, it looks like. They're sitting at the top of the NFC West at 8-6, tied with Mike Bara's Seattle Seahawks at 8-6. Arizona just 1 game back at 7-7. But this game sucked. I was in several fantasy football matchups. I needed some stuff to happen. Now, I did have Kyron Williams. He went over 100 yards, but no touchdowns. The weird part was Cooper Kupp, 0 catches. When's the last time a healthy Cooper Kupp had 0 catches? And so I would just ask you, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Mike is tagging me here. I'll add this to the profile. Mike Bara. Oh, maybe I can show you on the screen. Maybe I could pull it up on. Well, anyway, let me read this for you. It says, sorry, guys, my internet is out, so I can't make Strictly Football today with Brian Engelman. Go watch the show anyway. That is a great sentiment. I will share that into the Unhappy Hour Sports Show and the Cleveland Browns group. Okay. Yeah, but this was weird. We were in the first round of the playoffs, and we had to beat the bass player in one of my rock bands, and he had Cooper Kupp, and he went for 0. And I'm like, wow, we got this. But then he had Jared Goff, 52 points, beat us, barely beat us. Ugh. Fantasy football is one of the hardest things to become a champion, and it really is. Hit like, hit subscribe, however you're watching us here on Strictly Football, the Unhappy Hour. But yeah, this Rams game was ugly. No touchdowns scored. Lots of field goal kicking. And the Los Angeles Rams, it's sifted. They're tied with Seattle. It looks like they have the tiebreaker. So let me look at the tiebreaker board here in the NFL. Where's the playoffs? Does it have standings? I just want to see the playoff. There we go. In the NFC, yeah, the Seahawks are in good position for the wild card, should they end up with it. They're a game up on the Falcons and the Cardinals, both sitting at 7-7. And of course, the Niners at 6-8. And the Cowboys at 6-8. Saints at 5-9. Bears, Panthers, Giants eliminated. And of course, the Buccaneers, they're 8-6, but only one game up on the Falcons. So if they were to swap, then they would drop down here. Tampa has not clinched a playoff spot yet, but they do win a tiebreak over the Rams based on the best win percentage in conference games. That's a weird tiebreaker. Best win percentage in conference games, but it is what it is, right? You got to set your tiebreaker somewhere. So anyway, yeah, 160 yards for Matt Stafford in the air. And I know the playing conditions were wet. It was tough, but still, 142 yards for Brock Purdy. Not an incredible game. But that was your final. 12-6, more like a baseball score. Sloppy game. Rams get 4 field goals and get the win. Last week, the Chiefs and Browns. I mean, what are the storylines here? So Patrick Mahomes gets tackled and he comes up gimpy. He's got a high ankle sprain, I believe is what they were saying, but the x-rays were negative for a break or a ligament tear. Mahomes threw 2 touchdowns before he limping off with an injury in the fourth quarter. Xavier Worthy ran for a score. And it was a pretty easy 21-7 win over the mistake-prone Cleveland Browns. Look, the Chiefs don't look fantastic. I mean, they were up against a 3-11, after this game. 3-11 Cleveland Browns team, and they barely got the win, 21-7. And let's talk about what the Browns did. 6 turnovers. I've been anti Kevin Stefanski for a long time. I'm not convinced he's the right guy to lead our franchise. And it comes down to many factors. I'm not going to go do a whole Cleveland Browns dissertation. I can do that on a Strictly Browns episode. And I guess since Mike Bara isn't here today, sending his regards, we will get to his picks and his betting tips. So we'll get to Mike Bara's betting tips and his picks coming up in a little bit. But while I do have the increased opportunity now to cover more Cleveland Browns stuff, I'll just distill it down to you for this. When you're a well-coached team, you have very few unforced errors. So like in the game of tennis, I played tennis in high school. I was team captain. I was player of the week for my Cleveland Plain Dealer. Pretty cool. Love the game. But an unforced error, like an unforced serving error, that's when you take 2 swings for your to kind of start it. You're trying to get it over the net. You serve it and you miss. It goes into the net. And you go, okay. Then you swing a second time. You usually take some velocity off. And now You're focused on control to make sure it clears the net and lands in the box. If you miss twice, that's an unforced error. You did that to yourself. Well, the Cleveland Browns did this last week. 6 turnovers. They had a 62-yard touchdown run from Jerome Ford, but not a lot else. Then, to add injury to insult, Nick Chubb, Cleveland star running back, broken foot, suffered a devastating knee injury last season, and now he's out. So now, Dorian Thompson-Robinson came into this game at quarterback after Winston had his 3rd interception. And I believe DTR is going to start this week. Stefanski says you can't turn the ball over 6 times and expect to win at any level. So the Browns are having unforced errors, too many stupid mistakes, too many turnovers. This is a 14-point game against a 13-1 team. If we didn't have 6 turnovers, could we have been in this game? You're damn right we could have been in this game. So there's that. Defensive end, Myles Garrett, reigning defensive player of the year, got an eye injury, got gouged in the eyeball, left the game, grabbed his face mask, threw off the helmet. He was apologized to by Joe Thuney, Chiefs left tackle. And Stefanski said, thank God he's okay. So look, in a game that saw Nick Chubb, Nick Chubb has been through the world of knee injuries, and he comes back, plays in a few games, not particularly effective, not an incredibly fantastic offensive line opening holes for him. And then he has a season-ending foot surgery, a broken foot now. Prayers to Nick Chubb, man. I feel really bad for the guy. On the bright side for the Cleveland Browns, Jerry Jeudy, he became the wide receiver 1. Remember, we traded for him in the offseason with the Denver Broncos, who are a playoff caliber team now. We got Jerry Jeudy, and then halfway through this season, we got rid of Amari Cooper, traded him away, and so Jeudy is effectively the number 1. And so for the first time in his career, Jerry Jeudy, after 11 catches for 108 yards, he went over 1,000 yards receiving for the first time ever. Good for him. Good for him. So there's that. Chiefs are going to play Houston on December 21st, and the Browns play at Cincinnati this week. Yeah, the Browns, let's look at the AFC really quick. I'm going to show you the AFC playoff hunt here. Here are the eliminated teams. Jets, Browns, Jaguars, Titans, Patriots, Raiders. Browns sitting with three wins, 3-11. Only the Raiders with 2 wins and the Giants with 2 wins have worse records. It looks like the Browns, they win tiebreakers over Jacksonville because they won head-to-head. They win the tiebreaker over New England based on the winning percentage in conference games. Division tiebreak was initially used to eliminate Tennessee. Jacksonville wins okay, so at this point in the season, we're looking at what's the highest draft pick we can get. Sad time to be a Cleveland sports fan. But the Browns will play at Cincinnati. Bengals are only 6-8. They're still in the playoff hunt, but barely 6-8. I mean, they're out of time here. So, if I click on odds, is this going to? Oh no, this is the betting odds. Anyway, but as far as teams that are in the playoff hunt, you got the Chiefs at 13-1, leading the division. Bills at 11-3, Steelers 10-4, Houston Texans 9-5, Ravens at 9-5, Broncos at 9-5, Chargers at 8-6. Then you got the Colts, Dolphins, and Bengals at 6 wins. They're like right on the verge there. I realize I did not give you the top of the NFC. Top of the NFC is the 12-2 Philadelphia Eagles. Commanders at 9-5. Oh, wait, there we go. Playoffs. That's what I want. Lions at 12-2, Eagles at 12-2. Those are the cream of the crop teams. Also, don't sleep on the Minnesota Vikings at 12-2. 3 12-2 teams in the NFC. Buccaneers lead their division 8-6. They're the Rams leading their division at 8-6. Packers at 10-4. Commanders at 9-5. Seahawks 8-6. Falcons, Cardinals 7-7. Okay, so that's how it's shaken out. I mean, wouldn't it be fun to be competitive? Wouldn't it be fun to be in the playoff hunt? I think so. Well, Tennessee Titans here, they lost this game 27-37. Bengals got a crucial win. Do or die, absolutely crucial win. And Joe Burrow sets a franchise record, 3 more touchdown passes. So 36 on the season now for Joe Burrow. Fantastic quarterback. And he topped his own mark. He had 35 touchdowns in 2022, now 36 this year. But this is a 6-8 team. It's very frustrating. And yeah, their playoff chances are not great, but they're not zero either. You know, they have a shot. And at this point in the season, that's all you're looking for is a shot. You know, they're 3 games back of Baltimore at 9-5. Pittsburgh. Who had Pittsburgh with a 10-4 record at this point in the season? So anyway, another storyline to keep your eyes peeled on. Tennessee Titans, they are going to be benching their quarterback, Will Levis. So Mason Rudolph, he got in the game. I believe he's going to be playing this week. Cincinnati played without left tackle Orlando Brown Jr. You remember when Orlando Brown played on the Browns? Anyway, so the Bengals get that win. We'll see how it goes. I got Jamar Chase in both of my fantasy football leagues. I'm really hoping he's going to get to go off. Let me go to the comments here because we're getting some questions here. Saucy Boa, what's up? So you have a receiver lineup this week. CD Lamb, T. Higgins, BT Jr., Brian Thomas Jr., DJ Moore, Drake London. Jeez, Marvin Harrison. Are you how do you have so many stud wide receivers? Okay, you have to choose 3. Ooh. I can't trust Drake London. And they're going to Penix. The Falcons have switched off of Kirk Cousins. Too many interceptions. They want to see what the kid has. All right. Good luck with that. I would go with Marvin Harrison Jr. because the Cardinals are right in it, and he is the cleared wide receiver 1. Super talented. They're gonna feed him the rock, I think. BT Jr., DJ Moore. Yeah, it's tough in Chicago. That burned me in the playoffs in my fantasy football league because I have DJ Moore and I have Keenan Allen. It's just kind of how they fell to me. And I'm like, now I got to pick one of you versus the other. That's tough. And the Bears don't really have their offense together. That's hard to trust. So for those I like BT Jr., but I don't like the quarterback situation. So I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr., CD Lamb, and T. Higgins. Those are the 3 receivers I would choose for your fantasy football. Raul Havana, how are you, Raul? Thanks for joining us. By the way, if you're tuning in now, Mike Bara's internet is down. He sends his apologies, but I will show you Mike Bara's picks for next week and his betting tips from his Vegas insider that I will share with you for entertainment purposes only. Raul says that Pryor had 1,000 yards with RG3 on a 1-15 team. Big deal. Terrell Pryor was awesome in Cleveland, too. Terrell Pryor was overlooked, man. People slept on Terrell Pryor. Yeah, he had a couple good seasons. A great season in Cleveland and a great season with the Redskins. You're right. Good job pointing that out. All right. Let me get back to the scores here. All right, let's go to the Commanders. Commanders get the win barely over the super injured. I mean, look, the New Orleans Saints they've been battling. You know, they do not have Chris Olave. They do not have a lot of people. Quarterback, Spencer Rattler, Jake Hayner. I don't know about that. On the flip side, Jaden Daniels, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That was enough to get the job done. Barely. Commanders improved to 9-5. Who had that on the bingo card at the beginning of the year, that the Commanders would be 9-5 at this point in the season? I didn't have that. The exact inverse, Saints fall to 5-9 on the year. Terry McLaurin, man, if you got Terry McLaurin, you got something good going on there. 2 touchdowns, 7 receptions, 73 yards. Good job. Brian Robinson Jr., 65 yards rushing. Kamara, he had a touchdown receiving. But wow, 12 yards on the ground. Kendry Miller getting much better average efficiency, 9 carries for 46, but not too much going on for the Saints. So yeah, Commanders are right in the thick of things. Good job. When you see a rookie quarterback that can get it done, I'm impressed. Super impressed with it. Congratulations. I really hope my Cleveland Browns can hit reset and rebuild that way. Draft a rookie and play him. You don't have to be the number 1 overall pick. You just need a good system. Here's a team that did not take the number 1 overall pick, but it worked out for them. They had the last pick in the draft the same year that Baker Mayfield was selected. They took Lamar Jackson, and look, he throws 5 touchdown passes. And the Ravens send the Giants to a franchise record 9th straight loss. Wow. 35-14. Baltimore, like I said, they're 1 game back of Pittsburgh. I don't know how Pittsburgh is. I would not be surprised if Baltimore is able to win this division and send Pittsburgh into the wild card. We'll see how it shakes out. They have a game difference. I don't know who has the head-to-head in a tiebreak. That would be very important because you can get by on a 1 game difference in the standings, but if it's 1.5 games because of tiebreaker, that's where it gets slightly impossible. At this stage of the season, only a couple of games left. But yeah, New York is in the running to draft number 1 overall. We saw Shadur Sanders throwing the ball to Malik Neighbors, I believe, in New York. That came out a week or 2 ago. I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, New York got rid of Daniel Jones, and they're going to be picking a quarterback for sure. And so it's like every quarterback taken off the board makes it tougher for the Cleveland Browns to find the new face of their franchise. Mary Kay Cabot was reporting that Deshaun Watson is not allowed on the sideline for the rest of the season. Maybe the headline's a little maybe it's a little misleading because with injuries, you can't have injured players on the sidelines where you could, somebody could run into the sidelines and roll over you and injure you further. But there have been a lot of signs from Berea that Watson's not coming back. We'll see, because we also saw statements where they've said that he'll have a chance to compete and come back healthy. And I don't know. I'm just so ready to move on. And I really don't think Dorian Thompson-Robinson is the answer. But anyway, Ravens get the win, improved to 9-5 on the year. Giants, like I said, dropped to 2-12. If you got Lamar Jackson, you gotta ride the hot hand. 21-25, 290, and 5 touchdowns, and no big mistakes. That's a great day. Tommy DeVito, Tim Boyle, split quarterback work. Yeah, when you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. Devin Singletary, essentially a non-factor over here. Tyrone Tracy, same thing, 31 yards. Derrick Henry, 67 yards on the day. I mean, it was okay, but not all that much. And no receptions out of the backfield. Rashad Bateman, the big winner, 2 touchdowns on the day. Justice Hill had that really nice play. I got him sitting on my bench. And that's the thing. It's like I have nice players, but unless you're playing in one of the leagues where you pick your highest score, I'm never going to start Justice Hill over some of these other guys. But from week to week, occasionally, that could be the one that could, help you win your league. You just never know. But Mark Andrews and Devontae Walker with receiving touchdowns as well. All right, moving on from that Ravens victory. Cowboys, they do a pretty good job. Cooper Rush hits a career high 3 touchdowns. Panthers turn over the ball 4 times. They lose and drop to 3-11 on the year. Cowboys improved to 6-8. Cooper Rush, good for him. 18 of 29, 3 touchdowns, no stupid mistakes. Bryce Young, on the other hand, 19 of 28, a touchdown and 2 mistakes. No real rushing from Hubbard on the Panthers. Dowdle did pretty good, 149 yards rushing for the Cowboys. Zeke just kind of sitting there, 30 yards on 9 carries. But yeah, back to your question about who to start. Look, CeeDee Lamb, 9 receptions on 13 targets, 116 yards and a touchdown. You got to go with them. You got to dance with the one that brought you. CeeDee Lamb's been pretty good. You got to ride with CeeDee Lamb. But yeah, Cowboys are keeping their slim chances open. See how it all shakes out. There's a couple games left to play on the year. Jets and Jaguars, this was another one of those delineation games. Somebody has to win. And it's going to make a big difference, not really in the playoff hunt, obviously, since all these teams are eliminated. But this makes a difference on, will the Jets draft a quarterback? Well, they got another win, 4-10. And yeah, as you're watching the game, as you're watching the highlights, it's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers looks like the old Aaron Rodgers. Oh, Davante Adams looks like the old Davante Adams. Look at this. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers with a low completion percentage, 16 of 30, but he had 289 in the air, 3 touchdowns, and no stupid mistakes. Breece Hall gave him a touchdown on the ground, if you're keeping an eye peeled. Only 30 yards rushing, if you're playing him in fantasy. He's got talent, but only 30 yards rushing. Did get the touchdown. A couple receptions for 21 yards. But yeah, Davante Adams, look at this. 9 receptions, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns on 12 targets. Bravo. And Garrett Wilson getting in on the action. 3 catches, 56 yards, and a touchdown. And there you go. Here's the other receiver. By the way, let me amend your question about the fantasy football, if I may. Saucy Boa. I have no problem with you putting BT Jr. in there. If you want to flip for, maybe take T. Higgins out. I'd say CD, BT Jr., and Marvin Harrison Jr. All right? You could do T. Higgins or BT Jr. as a toss-up. I'm fine with Brian Thomas Jr. Look at that. 10 receptions, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns on 14 targets. It's Mac Jones throwing him the ball. Mac had 294 in the air, 2 touchdowns, 2 stupid interceptions. Yeah, Tank Bigsby. I drafted him a couple years in my fantasy league, 42 yards on the ground. But yeah, this Jets win, it just takes the Jets further from a young franchise quarterback. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Aaron Rodgers next year. Is he coming back to the Jets? Are the Jets drafting a quarterback? Is Aaron going to go title chasing? Could he come to the Browns? There's a lot of questions. But Davante Adams, 2 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers looking like they're figuring out their rhythm. That could have been huge if they dropped to 3-10 and the Jaguars improved to 4-10. Right? That would have totally flipped. Who knows what the Jaguars are thinking with Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, they signed him. They extended his contract, but he's not really performing all that well. I don't know how convinced they are that they have the right person in charge of this team. All right, let's move on to the Dolphins at the Texans. Texans get this one, improving to 9-5. Dolphins drop this, falling to 6-8. Margin of victory here. Dolphins 12, Texans 20. Nico Collins, in the fantasy realm, Nico Collins has really hurt Tank Dell. Tank Dell was having such a great season last year before his injury. And now that Nico's back, Nico's getting so many passes that used to go to Tank Dell. I think I might be forced to play Tank Dell this week in a fantasy football playoff matchup. I might have benched him, but I used to start him, and I used to start him easy. Now I'm not so sure. But on the other side, they're saying Houston cornerback Derek Stingley shined covering Tyreek Hill. Houston forcing 4 turnovers. Yeah, it reminds me of when they played Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs last year. It's hard to imagine, but the Browns were a playoff team, if you can think back that far. CJ Stroud, if you're looking at fantasy, 131 yards in the air, not much. 2 touchdowns, no stupid mistakes. Not much of a running game, no touchdowns on the ground for Houston. And those 2 touchdowns for Nico Collins. On the flip side, Tua had 3 interceptions compared to 1 touchdown. Devon A-Chain, 41 yards on the ground, not much. Jonnu Smith has been having a great year. If you got him at tight end, no problem sticking with him. He's been very consistent. But Tyreek Hill, 2 catches for 36 yards, no touchdowns. That's ultimately what doomed my fantasy football league that I got eliminated in. I was telling you about the playoff matchup. He was our number 1 overall pick. I co-managed that team with a buddy of mine, Clint. He was high on Tyreek Hill, and so I let him make the pick. Oh, I regret that. Oh, we've drafted him twice. One year he was injured the entire season, I think. And then this year it's like he's been out to lunch half of the season. So, yeah, Dolphins' slim playoff chances got a little slimmer, falling to 6-8 on the year. Colts Broncos. Yeah, Broncos improve. They get 5 takeaways from the Colts. Colts dropped to that 6-8. And the Broncos improved to 9-5. I did not have the Broncos being this good this year, but they are. Anthony Richardson, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Bo Nix, 3 touchdowns. But look at that, 3 interceptions to go along with it, making his QBR a 15.2. Not so great. Really no running game. Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin. I had high hopes for Javonte Williams. He's had some injuries, but they are not getting it done on the ground. They're just not. Touchdown passes to Nate Adkins, Adam Troutman, and Cortland Sutton for the Broncos. And just not a lot going on. Not a lot going on at all. Jonathan Taylor for the Colts, I guess. That's going on. But only 13 points on the day. No touchdowns in the air. Anthony Richardson ran for 1. But yeah, I mean, the sift where maybe a couple weeks ago you thought maybe the Colts and the Broncos were sort of similar. No, I mean, they're definitely pulling apart. The pack is separating here. And this was a big game here. This is what a lot of people, myself included, let's face it. The Bills are 11-3. The Lions are 12-2. These cities have never won a Super Bowl. I would love to see the Bills represent the AFC and the Lions represent the NFC. I want a franchise that is not used to winning Super Bowls. I would like to see a city, a brand new city, celebrate a Super Bowl for the first time in their history. Nothing better. I'm also rooting for Baker Mayfield to win a Super Bowl too. I'm fine with the Buccaneers getting another one as long as it can get Baker a championship quickly. But look, Josh Allen, I think he set a fantasy football record for points last week. And he follows it up this week. 2 touchdowns in the air. No stupid mistakes. But look at that. There's the guy that almost single-handedly knocked out my fantasy football playoff team. 5 touchdowns, 494 yards in the air. Jared Goff hung, what did he hang, like 52 on me? Couldn't overcome it. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, almost no rushing at all. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 193 yards on 14 catches with the touchdown. Tim Patrick, he's another sleeper. I was able to pick up Tim Patrick 2 weeks ago in my fantasy league. Just sitting there on the waivers. Pick up Tim Patrick. He's got some rapport with Jared Goff. In case you have an injury situation, he might be a plug and play that you could try. Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamison Williams also with Dan Skipper getting touchdown passes on the day. Khalil Shakur and Ray Davis getting touchdowns. Ray Davis is a nice supplemental back, and they use him out of the backfield for receiving as well. Yeah, Josh Allen, another 2 touchdown runs, 2 touchdown passes, responsible for 4 of the 48. And the Bills got a huge win. Make no mistake, this is a mammoth win for the Buffalo Bills. Because if you look at the conference, I mean, it keeps them right at the top. I would not be surprised to see the Kansas City Chiefs drop 2 games. 3 games left on the year. I think they're in striking distance for home field advantage. And if not, maybe they can have home field until they play the Chiefs. Being that number 2 seed is helpful. They're only a game up on Pittsburgh. So, huge win for the Bills to beat the Lions, who seemed unbeatable. So, yeah, I would be okay with a Bills-Lions Super Bowl if Baker Mayfield can't make it for the Buccaneers in the NFC. I'm rooting for fan bases that have never had a Super Bowl because I'm a Browns fan. I know what that feels like. and I don't wish that on anyone. Talking about those Steelers, they dropped this game, falling to 10-4. Eagles in the Battle of Pennsylvania, they win 27-13. Eagles improved to 12-2 on the year. Jalen Hurts, 3 touchdowns. The Eagles have beaten the Steelers 10 straight times now. That's a, hey, we got your number kind of thing. Saquon Barkley is trying to set a rushing record. Only 65 on the day. I think he needed to average 120 for the last 4 games, or is it the last 3 games? We'll see if he's able to do that. Jalen Hurts with another rushing touchdown. You heard last week, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and people were saying that the receivers were upset. They're not throwing the ball downfield enough. They're not giving them any opportunities to catch the ball, get some stats, help the team win. They want some passes. Well, they each had a touchdown pass, and both eclipsed 100 yards, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Good for them. Freiermuth with the lone touchdown in the air from Russell Wilson. And look at this. I started Najee Harris in my fantasy league, and geez, 6 carries, 14 yards. That's it. Wah, wah. In the air, 1 catch for 7 yards. So Pittsburgh not looking good. Eagles looking good. They look like they're a game and a half difference here. 2-game difference. There we go. 2-game difference. By the way, hit subscribe to Strictly Football here. Follow us on X at TNAM Football, TNAM for the New American Media, at TNAM Football. That's for our Strictly Football show. And at The Unhappy Hour _ on X, at The Unhappy Hour _ on X. And our homepage is at American _ Media _ Patriots, Cardinals. Cardinals get the win, and that's huge. Snapping a 3-game losing streak. Cardinals lost 2 starting linebackers 5 plays into the game. That's not good. James Conner had himself a throwback day. 16 carries, 110 yards on the ground, average of 6.9, 2 touchdowns. That's a good day. And that's almost all they needed to get this win over Drake May, who threw for 202, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Kyler Murray, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Weird. But yeah, the Cardinals at 7-7. They are in the hunt. New England, they're at the back of the pack. They got to figure out if Drake May is the future or if Drake May ain't the future. All these teams with, 2 wins, 3 wins, 4 wins, that's where you draft your quarterback. That's where you hit reset on your franchise. This one here, what a game. Buccaneers, by the way, remember the Buccaneers have lost 2 games now to the Falcons, and they're like the number 2 team right behind them, 1 game separating them. Buccaneers need to keep winning, and they did. This was a tough game against the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers have been good this year. Chargers get the loss, though. This game ended 40-17. Buccaneers win over the Chargers. LA drops to 8-6. Tampa improves to 8-6. And Baker Mayfield throws for 4 touchdowns en route to dominating in the second half of the game. Bucky Irving had himself a day on the ground. 117 yards on 15 carries. A little bit for Rachaad White. Rachaad White was on my fantasy team that got eliminated. Had a touchdown receiving out of the backfield. Rookie Jalen McMillan had a touchdown, and Mike Evans had 2 touchdowns, 159 on the day. Yeah, Baker, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's 22 of 27. Playing great. 135 rating. Gus Edwards, Kimani Vidal, they combined for a total of 32 rushing yards. Good Lord. Ladd McConkey got himself another touchdown along with Quentin Johnson. Some nice young receiving talent there in Los Angeles, but could not hang. So yeah, there's Los Angeles down here at 8-6, 1 game back of Denver at 9-5. They're battling it out in the wild card hunt in the AFC. In some regards, your future is in your hands. Now, I know not every case you're going to control your own destiny, but this time of year, you just got to win as much as you can. If you got one of these 8-6 records, just go try to win out, see where everything shakes out. You don't need to worry too much about the other teams. Just control what you can control. And that's just staying hot and going on a winning streak. Seattle lost a tough one here, 13-30. They dropped to 8-6 on the year. Geno Smith is injured. His knee giving him problems now. Remember, Seattle, whether it's Charbonnet or Kenneth Walker at running back, they're injured. They're trying to battle through, but I mean, they're injured. Quarterback's injured. Like, Seattle's breaking apart at the wrong time. I'd love to hear Mike Bara's thoughts on that because he is the Seahawks guru, and I know he has thoughts on it. But look, the Green Bay Packers, they're a really good team. 10-4, they improved to. Jordan Love, 229 in the air, 2 touchdowns, no mistakes. Josh Jacobs, I mean, really just having a solid, good, very good season. 96 yards, 94 yards on the day and a touchdown. Romeo Doubs, 2 touchdowns in the air. Yeah, and Zach Charbonnet went for 54 and got a touchdown on the ground. But yeah, they're saying Kenny McIntosh might end up getting a whole bunch of carries this week. So yeah, Green Bay Packers, 10-4. They're in a very good spot. Let me do the standings here by conference. Yeah, with 10 wins, they're in pole position for the wild card. They're 2 games back with the Vikings being in that division. That's a tough division right now. 12-2 versus 10-4, but luckily there's no other 10-win teams. Commanders at 9 and then a couple with 8. So haven't clinched a spot, but they are in a very good spot. Green Bay is. Man, I long to just be consistently competitive as a franchise. The Browns have taken that from me, and I hope for better days. Bears do not have better days as they fall to the Vikings. Look, Vikings are legitimate. I don't know how many games it took you to realize that they're pretty good, but they're pretty good. They improved to 12-2 on the year, 7-1 at home. The Bears drop this again. Vikings got their 7th straight win. So now they're tied for the NFC North lead. 30-12 blowout of the reeling Bears. The Bears. Yeah, Aaron Jones with a touchdown. I have Aaron Jones starting for me. I've traded for him, and you know, I hated seeing him leave Green Bay, but he's really caught on in Minnesota. He's had some turnover issues, but he's been producing. And at this time of the year, you got to ride the hot hands and the big names. Justin Jefferson got a touchdown from Darnold, 7 catches for 73 yards. But yeah, you were asking my fantasy football advice about the Chicago receiving. DJ Moore, 8 catches for 48. We had the same thing. Do we start Moore or Allen? I think we started Moore, but it was Allen that had 6 catches for 82 and a touchdown. So go figure. DeAndre Swift, 79 yards on the ground. Caleb Williams, 191 yards throwing and a touchdown. Sam Darnold, not his biggest statistical day by any stretch. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 231 in the air. But yeah, Akers and Jones both got rushing touchdowns, and Jefferson got 1 in the air. Vikings are legit, sitting there 12-2, getting ready for the playoffs. And the last game from last week, this was an ugly one. I picked the Raiders to win, and let's face it, the Raiders were in this game. Raiders were very much in this game. This was a winnable game. And I was rooting for that so that, you know, I want to see Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers make it. And so a loss from the Falcons helps ensure that Baker and the Bucs are going to be in a better position to win. But they barely got it done, and they're already saying, is Kirk Cousins, is he done in Atlanta? It's like, well, where's he going to go? They just signed him for a ton of cash. But yeah, he's had another interception, only 112 yards in the air. Just not looking like the same type of player. Bijan Robinson had himself a day, 125 yards on the ground. Pretty good. And yeah, that was where Drake London did get a touchdown pass. But, you know, do we trust Michael Penix Jr.? He's going to be the quarterback this week. I don't know. Drake London's obviously one of the most talented wide receivers on that team. Pass catchers on that team, rather. I'm not convinced. That's not to say he couldn't have a great day, but I'm not going to roll the dice at this time. In the playoffs, I need to count on guys that I have a bit of a track record on, and I just don't have it on the other side. Desmond Ridder getting the start. He went 23 of 39, not so great. 208 with a touchdown and 2 interceptions, not so great. He ended up leading his team in rushing with 28 yards. That's not so great. Touchdown pass coming to Amir Abdullah. So, yeah, I might be in the unfortunate position of needing to start Alexander Madison. in one of my fantasy leagues, and I'm not looking forward to it. I might actually swap him out for, Najee Harris. I am thin at running back. I hope it doesn't hurt me too much. All right, so that was a recapitulation of what we learned last week in the NFL. Right now, I would like to go to this segment and tell you how Mike, well, I'll get to that in a moment. These are the betting tips. We get these every week, and I want to read them to you for entertainment purposes only. Our Vegas betting tips. So, let me switch. There we go. By the way, who's excited for the playoffs, the college football playoffs for football to start? I'm super excited. Definitely super excited. Go Buckeyes. OHIO. All right, so the Broncos at the Chargers. Chargers are giving 2.5 points. Broncos are 6-19 straight up on the road. That's not good. Broncos are 16-20 against the spread. Chargers are 2-6 straight up with teams with winning records. So make your bets accordingly. Texans and Chiefs. Chiefs are given 3.5. Chiefs are 1-7 against the spread in 2024 in the last 8 games. So they're not covering their spread this year. Mahomes is 26-9-1 as a favorite of 3 or fewer points or an underdog. 26-9. Chiefs 28-1 straight up when favored by less than 3 points. Steelers at Ravens. Ravens giving 6.5. That's a big spread for a conference game. Steelers are 8-1 straight up against the Ravens. Wow. Steelers are 8-1 straight up against the Ravens, and the Ravens are giving 6.5 to the Steelers. I'm not much of a betting man, but if I were, those stats are telling me something. Steelers are 26-9-2 as an underdog versus the AFC North. So yeah, when it's in their own division, they do well. 26-9-2 when they're the underdog. Steelers Ravens, when they play, the underdog is 17-1-1 against the spread. So that tells you bet the underdog. That would be the Steelers in this case. Steelers are 1-11 straight up when TJ Watt is out. Oh, yeah. Something to consider. Steelers, when they're underdogs of 6 or more points, they're 37-26 against the spread. Lamar Jackson is 20-7 straight up in this matchup. Ravens are 91-30 straight up at home as a favorite. That's 3-1. Jackson is 19-26 against the spread as a home favorite. Not as good. Jackson is 4-11 as a favorite when it's 7 points or more. Okay. Yeah, maybe Steelers on that one. Browns at Bengals. Bengals are giving 7.5. Oof. The Cleveland Browns are 17-27 against the spread after a loss. Browns are 10-18 against the spread versus the AFC North. And when we're dogs of 6 or more points, 37-26 against the spread. That's 7.5. Looks kind of good, though. Lions giving up only 6.5 to the Bears. Lions are 34-10 straight up. Lions are 9-5 against the spread in 2024. Goff himself is 17-4 against the spread on the road. Lions are 10-0 straight up after a loss, so they regroup well. Bears are 11-29 straight up. That's not good in this matchup. And when the Bears are underdogs of 6 or more points, they're 37-26 against the spread. Cardinals giving up 4.5 to the Panthers. Kyler Murray is 20-8 against the spread on the road. Kyler Murray is 3-12 straight up after a win. That's not good. That's an uneven. That's weird. 3-12 straight up after a win. Do with that what you will. Maybe consider the Panthers getting 4.5 here. Giants at Falcons. Falcons are giving up 8.5 points with their rookie quarterback this week, by the way. Giants are 19-11 against the spread as a road underdog. It's actually a pretty good stat for the Giants. In the Giants, when they're dogs of 6 or more points, they're 37-26 against the spread. Okay, so they're saying maybe consider Giants plus 8.5. Titans, Colts. Colts are given 3.5. Titans are 10-7-1 against the spread on the road after a loss. And the Titans are 2-12 against the spread. Rams, Jets. Rams are giving only three to the Jets. The Rams. Teams that play the Santa Clara 49ers are 14-30 straight up the week after, meaning it takes a lot out of you. Okay, so maybe that's part of the reason why it's only a 3-point spread there. And because the Jets played a pretty good game. Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers had themselves a nice game. Vikings giving up 3 to the Seahawks. Okay. Vikings. See, the NFC North is 26-14 against the spread versus non-division opponents. NFC North 26-14 against the spread versus non-division opponents. And Geno Smith is 4-11 against the spread at home. We'll see how that knee holds up. Patriots, Bills. Bills are giving, 14.5 points. Ooh. The Bills, man, you'd never want to bet against them, but 14.5 is still 14.5. But I guess when they're looking at the matchup, they just don't see how the Patriots can compete. Patriots, when they're underdogs of 6 or more points, they're 37-26 against the spread. Bills, the teams that play the Lions are 3-7 straight up and 1-9 against the spread the week after. They're beat up. And the Bills, when they're double digits favorites, they're 6-5 against the spread and 10-1 straight up. Jags, Raiders, Raiders giving 1.5. Mac Jones is 3-17 against the spread career. Buccaneers giving 3.5 to the Cowboys. Cowboys are 17-7 straight up at home. Cowboys are 4-14 straight up as a dog. Yeah, I like the Bucs giving 3.5. Saints, Packers. Packers are giving 14.5. Man, I think I'd still take the Packers. But it says the Saints are 3-9 straight up versus playoff teams. Not great. Saints, when they're dogs of 6 or more points, they're 37-26 against the spread. Packers. The NFC North is 26-14 against the spread versus non-division opponents. Packers are 8-3 straight up when favored by 4 points or more. Packers are 19-3 straight up in December. They're a late season team, cold weather team. 19-3 straight up in December. And the Packers, when they're double-digit favorites, they're 6-5 against the spread and 10-1 straight up. So those conclude the betting tips. Thank you so much for submitting those. Yeah, Mike Bara, he sends his regards. His internet is down. We look forward to just talking football for a while. He and I both do political shows. He does Toxically Masculine Tuesday. He does several shows. And I do the Agree to Disagree show, politics and current events. So it's nice to just get together and talk mostly football. It's a welcome change of pace, if you will. All right, so let me give you Mike's picks here. Mike was 10-6 last week. This is the first week that I've been able to defeat Mike. I went 12-4. Of course, he'd decide this is the week he doesn't come on because I beat him. Maybe he's faking an internet outage because he didn't want to lose to me. Is that what was going on? I doubt it. But I'm going to say it anyway because it's funny. All right. These are where we pick the games straight up. Mike is going to go ahead and pick the Santa Clara 49ers to beat the Rams. He's picking the Baltimore Ratbirds to defeat the Giants. He's going to take Miami. Oh, excuse me. I was looking at the wrong week. The first panel was showing that he went 10-6, and he's 152-72 on the year. He's more than 2-1 correct. So for entertainment purposes, here's who he's picking this week. Here we go. Miami, he's picking to beat the 49ers. Straight up. Tampa Bay to beat Dallas. Straight up. Green Bay to beat New Orleans. Straight up. Vegas to beat Jacksonville. Straight up. Buffalo to beat the Patriots. Atlanta to beat the Giants. Oh, there's a upset there. Picking Washington to beat the Eagles. Okay. Picking the Colts to beat the Titans. taking Minnesota over Seattle. Oh, he's picking his Seattle Seahawks to lose. Mike Bara is picking the Cardinals to beat the Carolina Panthers, picking the Bengals to beat the Browns, picking the Lions to beat the Bears, picking the Jets to beat the Rams. Oh, now there's I think we got some separation this week. I'm going to make some different picks. He's taking the Chargers over the Broncos. Yeah, I'm not going to take that one either. He's taking the Chiefs over Houston. I'm not taking that either. We're going to have separation again this week. And he's taking Pittsburgh over Baltimore. That's kind of fair, but I'm actually going to pick Baltimore in this one. Those were Mike Bara's picks of the week. Make sure you follow Mike and check out his shows. Any comments that you have, any fantasy football thoughts, please deliver those in the comments section, please. Hit like, hit subscribe, The Unhappy Hour and Strictly Football, as well as the New American Media. Okay, let me go to my picks here. As I said last week, this is the best week by far that I've had. I am now 12-4. That was my record last week, and I am now 112-112 on the season. Good grief, that's even Steven. I feel like I'm in a Seinfeld episode. You know who you are? You're even Steven. You're even Steven. It's like, let me see that $20 bill. Grabs it and throws it out the window. Then he finds a 20 in his pocket. You're even Steven. That's a pretty good episode. Love that show. All right, so that was me in week 15, and I'm 112-112. Let's go to week 16. All right, from the top here, Denver at Los Angeles. I'm going with Denver. I think they've got a lot of stuff put together. I think Sean Payton has them. They're improving. They're getting better. I don't know. Chargers, they're a little uneven for me. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Broncos to win this one. Houston to Kansas City. Look, Patrick Mahomes is dinged up. He's had this high ankle sprain thing before. I think they're planning on playing him, but will he be limited? I think Houston's better than their record shows. I think they're capable of much more offensively. They really haven't been able to pop much this year, but they have it in them. I'm going to pick Houston to win this game. I don't think the Chiefs are as good as 13-1, and I don't think Houston's as bad as 9-5. Not that 9-5 is bad. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. I know that the statistics are going to tell me that maybe I should pick Pittsburgh here. You know, this is a game I really don't want to root for any team because I can't stand either of them. But I'm going to go with Baltimore here. I'm going to go ahead and select them. I think they get the job done, regardless of what's happened in the past. Cardinals are going to beat the Panthers, but that's one I would not be surprised because this is like separation time. Maybe 7-7 is more like 7-8. Maybe they're more like 4-11. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me, but I can't pick the Panthers to win that. Cleveland at Cincinnati. I'm going to pick Cleveland. I don't know why. Except that the Browns, they do have Cincinnati's number. Maybe not so much so recently. I know under Baker Mayfield, it was almost lights out like Jim Tressel or Urban Meyer when they were the coaches of Ohio State. They just had the number of that team up north. They didn't lose. Cleveland's not quite that over the Bengals, but they do tend to win down there quite a bit. I know Bengals have a very slim playoff chance. But maybe the Browns get it done. I'm going to pick the Browns to win this one. Detroit at Chicago. I'm going Detroit. Detroit's a fantastic team. Not perfect. They lost. I believe they lost Devin. No, I'm confusing Devin Montgomery. David Montgomery. I believe they lost him to an injury, so you'll see more Jamar Gibbs. But he's very good. So I'm gonna pick the Lions here. Los Angeles, New York. Yeah, this is where Mike Bara, he picked the Jets. And look, I understand coming off of that game. Old timers day, Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, but I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams. They're kind of peaking at the right time, and it comes down to culture. It comes down to coaching, and I think Sean McVay being a Super Bowl champion over there and just having consistency, continuity. I don't see another game where Cooper Kupp goes catchless ever again. I'm going to pick the Rams here. New York at Atlanta. This is one that I know New York's not good. But I don't really know what we're going to get in Atlanta out of Michael Penix Jr. There's a bit of a wild card component to this. I will pick the Falcons, but I wouldn't be surprised. And frankly, when they're sitting at 2-12, please get the win. I know I picked the Browns to win, but I would like all of these bad teams to get a couple of junk wins on the season so the Browns can pick first or second or third or fourth or fifth instead of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's my selfish reasoning. Eagles at Redskins. Yeah, Mike picked the Washington to win this one, but I'm going to pick the Eagles. I do have Jalen Hurts as my quarterback. I drafted him in the second or third round when I needed a quarterback, and he's really been one of the top performers to help take my team to the playoffs a few years in a row. And I'm looking for Saquon and the boys to get this done. I'm going to pick the Eagles. Tennessee at Indianapolis. Yeah, Tennessee benching Will Levis. Yeah, not much going on for that team. I don't know. The Colts are not that good. I will pick the Colts, but this is another one that could flip. I would not be surprised. Minnesota, Seattle. I'm gonna pick Minnesota because I can't think of many teams I would pick against the Vikings at this point in the year. Jacksonville at Las Vegas. I'm gonna go ahead and pick Jacksonville. I think they have more playmakers. I like Mac Jones more than Aiden O'Connell. I like Brian Robinson Jr. better than I like. Who's their best receiver? I'm gonna pick Jacksonville in this one. New England at Buffalo. I'm picking Buffalo. Not much I need to say there. Exact inversions, 3-11 and 11-3. When you get those teams this late in the season where the exact opposites, they're like mirrored images, the inverse of each other. That starts telling you something. Here, Niners, Dolphins. What's this telling you? They're both 6-8. They both battled through injuries and less than stellar seasons this year. Geez, Garendo's not even going to be ready at running back. They've had injuries across the board. Not that the Dolphins have been great, but this is in Miami, and I think Miami might have a better shot of making the playoffs. I mean, it's very slim. But I think we saw an uncharacteristic Tua Tagovailoa game. I think, what was it, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions last week. I don't expect a second version of that. I expect a Tyreek Hill touchdown or 2. Probably 1 to Jonnu Smith again because he's been fantastic. I'm going to pick the Dolphins. Tampa Bay at Dallas. Inverted record, 6-8 versus 8-6. Cowboys are weird. Sometimes they play okay. Sometimes they play like garbage. Buccaneers, I mean, they're Baker's got it going on. It's too bad that Chris Godwin is injured. I'd love to see them at full strength at receiver, but they've had some rookies stepping up, and Mike Evans is just perhaps the most underrated wide receiver in all of football. I'm picking the Buccaneers to win this game. In New Orleans at Green Bay, I'm going with the Packers. And so that will conclude my pick-em section here on Strictly Football. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to predict that the Buckeyes are going to win 42-20 over Tennessee. I know some people have said you might have concerns about that line. Buckeyes' offensive line has a couple of injuries on it, and they've had to do some makeshift patchwork repairs to that line. And I guess Tennessee has a pretty good defensive line. We saw something similar in that game up north against those fellas. Buckeyes had a bit of a problem at the line of scrimmage, some would say. But I think the Buckeyes looked at the game film and just like, why weren't we throwing the ball? Every time we threw it deep, that team up north couldn't defend the receiver, so they got pass interference. So throw it up every time. Past 20 yards, see what happens. Get 20 pass interference calls. Move the ball downfield. Stay safe. Do the right thing. I think the Buckeyes are going to win. As far as the rest of the games, actually, let me pull that up, and I'll wrap it up on that topic. CFB playoff brackets. All right, we'll go with this one. There it is. Let me switch to share this screen. And I'm going to make my predictions for entertainment purposes only. There we go. All right, so yes, as I said here, yeah, Buckeyes get to host a game. That's huge. That's going to be at the Horseshoe at night. Woo! Man, Tennessee doesn't know what they're about to step into. and the Buckeyes are mad. They lost a close game to that team up north. Look, we missed opportunities. That was the number one comment in that Buckeyes Wolverines game. Missed opportunities. We got beat. I can't say we beat ourselves, but we missed opportunities. We just didn't play to our capability level, and they should have been throwing the ball more. I don't expect those mistakes to happen. I expect number 9 Tennessee to fall to the number 8 Buckeyes. I think they're going to double them up. Either way, number 1 overall seed Oregon is sitting there to take on the winner. And of course, think back to earlier in this year, the Buckeyes did lose to Oregon by 1 point. And this was where Buckeye quarterback ran it and tried to spike the clock and get down. Like, they ran out of time just by like a second or 2 or 3 to get that field goal opportunity off, and they could have won that game. They didn't. I'm not going to say we deserved to. We didn't. We just didn't get it done. But I would love a rematch against Oregon. To be the champs, you got to beat the champs. I'm not worried of any team in this bracket at this stage of the season. Here we go. Clemson and Texas Longhorns. I think Texas will get it done. And then battle Arizona State. Arizona State at number 4 seed. It's interesting how they did the seedings. Like, if you won your division or won your conference bowl championship or your conference championship, then you get the first 4 seeds. I don't know if I love that. I think maybe just whoever the 4 best teams are, put them 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what I think. Either way. Indiana at Notre Dame. I'm going to pick an upset. I think Indiana is going to have enough to take Notre Dame out. I think whoever wins will lose to Georgia in the following round, the number 2 seed. But I'll pick the upset there. I'm going to take Indiana. It's wild. Just looking at these teams on the board. 12 teams. And the Buckeyes have played number 1 Oregon, number 10 Indiana, and number 6 Penn State. Nobody else has played all these great teams. Buckeyes did. And they've got 2 losses to show for it. But my God, how great is it that your season isn't toast just because you didn't go undefeated? Because the Buckeyes have a stacked roster. In the top 12, of course, the Buckeyes deserve to be there somewhere. But now it's time for Coach Ryan Day to step up. If he can't get – I almost feel like if he can't win a championship, he needs to go. Whether he resigns, whether they force him out, whether they buy him out. I don't know. I've been reading reports that like the pressure and people are giving him grief, tension on his family and stuff. And, I don't wish ill on anyone. It's just, that job is not for the faint of heart. And you have an expectation to win a national championship every year. At least go to the game. And Ryan Day hasn't beat that team up north in half a decade since he's been around. So he has run out of time, just like Kevin Stefanski, coach of the Browns, and Andrew Berry, general manager of the Browns. In my opinion, they've run out of time. They've shown enough to me, and I'm done. I'm ready to move on without them and try something new. Anyway, back to college football here. SMU and Penn State. I think Penn State's going to win this one. SMU's fine, but I think Penn State's strong. Drew Aller this time of year. Playing a home game. I wonder what the weather forecast is going to be for that one. Geez, if SMU comes up and it's going to be snowy, it's going to be cold, I don't know if they're going to know how to handle that. I'm going to pick Penn State in that one. And I would actually give Penn State a decent chance to beat Boise State, number 3 overall seed, when they advance. But, hey, time will tell. Those are just some of my prognostications for you. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Strictly Football today. Mike Bara, as I said, our regular co-host here, he sends his regards. His internet is down. So make sure you check out his shows, Toxically Masculine Tuesday, and the others. The one he does with Jen. He does several different shows. Just check out Mike Bara's stuff. Then, of course, the New American Media, all of the places. Let me see if I guess I don't have them pulled up in my captions. But follow Strictly Football on X at TNAM Football, at TNAM Football. That's for the New American Media. That's where we broadcast. That's our umbrella, the New American Media here. And of course, the Unhappy Hour _ the Unhappy Hour Sports Show on X is at the Unhappy Hour _ Follow us there. We have a YouTube channel for the Unhappy Hour Sports Show and the New American Media. Hit subscribe to both of those. Rumble, we have the New American Media. Hit subscribe. We stream this there. We are on Truth Social, the New American Media. We have our podcast. The Strictly Football podcast goes up on the Unhappy Hour podcast on Spotify. So go to the Unhappy Hour Sports Show and hit subscribe, please. You can find the Unhappy Hour on Signal and Telegram. Also TNAM and TNAM Chat, TNAM and TNAM Chat for the New American Media, of course. And all the other places. If you want to contribute, we're on Venmo at Brian Engelman, BrianEngelman. PayPal at Fuzz Installment, FUZZINSTALLMENT. And on Patreon, patreon.com/The New American Media. I think we're Cash App, The New American Media as well. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you joining this program. We hope to get Mike back soon. Not sure what's going on with next week. We got Christmas. Merry Christmas to everyone. This is a tough time of year for a lot of people. Missing loved ones. I guess in some ways, I don't know if it's. I wonder what the percentages look like. Obviously, as you get older, more people you know are no longer with us. But I'm sure there's plenty of people who are young who are missing immediate family members as well. But this time of year is a tough time of year. A lot of memories, a lot of pain, missing parents, siblings, significant others. My request to you is to try to reach out to somebody around you, a family member, a friend. Invite somebody to go do something. Let's go grab dinner. Let's go see a movie. Just if you've had a thought of somebody recently, just call them up, check in on them. I think we are much more telepathic than we give ourselves credit for. And I think there's something to a global consciousness. I got a phone call yesterday from somebody that made a post and they felt moved to make a donation to help out. And I helped out how I could to make that happen. And I saw the town I grew up in. They're saying, for anyone who's having a hard time out there on Christmas, if you don't have a good meal, come on in and we'll make you a free pizza. It's on us. Like, we just reaching out to community and giving back and letting people know that they have value, even if they've had a tough year. This hasn't been my toughest year. It hasn't been my greatest year. And maybe you can relate to that. I guess you only get one worst and you only get one best. Although you can always top your best and you can always top your worst. But yeah. There's a lot of emptiness out there where there used to be laughter and joy and love. So, if someone cuts you off, try to dial it back. You don't need to escalate and make things worse. If you have a bad encounter with someone, you have no idea what people are going through. And any random act of helpfulness, like your helpful Honda dealers, not a sponsor yet. I'm more of a Toyota guy, but 'tis the season, right? Christmas is about the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and his resurrection and all that jazz. He was brought to the world to, kind of bring us out, give us a chance through belief in him and repentance of sins to have everlasting life. There's your number one reason for the season. Oh, wait, here come the pagans and the atheists. Christianity stole that from the pagans. All right. Multiple things can be true at once. We don't need to get into that. But aside from the Jesus and salvation component, the holiday season is about humanity. So, yeah, I went Christmas shopping, and it's it's just kind of hard to say no. You got a loved one, and you just want to make them happy a little bit. So it's not about dollars, and it's not about stuff. It's just about effort and intention. So I'm not sure what my weekly schedule is going to be next week. I wouldn't be the only one that packs it up or does an odd show at an odd day. So keep your eyes peeled to the New American Media. We might just go live. And if we're live, click on us and check it out. And join the comments section because we love incorporating your thoughts into the show. Iban Echevarria says, turn off the TV. They're lying to you. Get out of the matrix and become powerful and wise. Yes. Hell yeah. Now, Iban Echevarria, you might enjoy our The Agree to Disagree show, where we talk a lot about politics and media manipulation. We just did a show with TV's Blake Wally. That's up on our Rumble account and our YouTube and on our X. So find it, The Agree to Disagree show. Subscribe to it on Spotify, the podcast, where we put the videos. But yeah, I agree. Everybody's lying to us. But they can't. What I was talking with Blake about is they can't lie to us anymore. They don't get away with it. We figure it out that fast. We illuminate all the bullshit and shine the bright spotlights onto it that fast. Digital soldiers, baby. Digital soldiers. So be aware, should the power ever snap off, that's when the bad stuff might be about to happen. I would power goes off and you can't get information, but man, be ready. Just be ready to be all that you can be. All right. But yeah, we were having the conversation about, do you think that the powers that be, screwed up by allowing us the internet? Oh, yeah. They can't put that genie back in the bottle, regardless of what Christina Aguilera said in that song so many years ago. Okay, here's another one. Shadow is Wicked. What up, Shadow is Wicked? Got to pick one for flex. Wow. Okay. One of these guys for flex. All right, Patrick Taylor. I mean, even Garendo didn't do that well last week. Kendry Miller, he didn't do much last week. Travis Etienne. I like how you spelled Etienne. Instead of like the etouffee, you just put E-T-N. 3 letters. I'm going to go with Rashad White or Jerome Ford here. Jerome Ford can hit home runs. I was there in Indianapolis. What was that, last year? Where he ripped off like an 85-yard touchdown run. He had a 62-yarder. He can hit home runs. I don't know what's going to happen with Dorian Thompson-Robinson under center for the Cleveland Browns. I don't really know what to expect. Jameis, he would air it out, but he was getting picked off too often. Rashad White, I mean, Bucky Irving has taken a big chunk of those carries that used to go to Rashad White. But he's effective out of the backfield. Jerome Ford can catch the ball out of the backfield too. So I would say it's a toss-up, coin flip between Jerome Ford and Rashad White. I'd go Jerome Ford, 1A. I'd go Rashad White, 1B. And my question to you would be, does that match what you were thinking? So I guess you're in the playoffs. Congratulations. Playoffs? That was my question of the day earlier. Do you remember who I was asking? That was Jim Mora from the Indianapolis Colts. Playoffs? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. So yeah, wrapping it up with our question of the day. All right. Yeah, good luck to all of you out there who are in your fantasy football playoffs. It's so hard. I've won a couple of times. I've had really good teams that I have been unable to win a championship with, like Bernie Kosar's Browns of the late 80s. Kept running into John Elway. Oh, okay. So Shadow is Wicked is saying, yeah, as of now, I have Rashad White in at the flex, and yep, in the championship round for 2 weeks. So you do that thing where you have a cumulative total where it's just like the 2 best teams battle it out for 2 weeks in a row. I've seen that, but I've never been in a league like that. I got mixed feelings on that. I don't know. It's not like a best of 7 series in the NBA or baseball. Football's one and done. So I kind of like one and done. Let the ball bounce where the ball may. Yeah, but I like I said, I think the Bucky Irving factor has to be put in there. And my understanding is that Bucky Irving's healthy. That makes a big difference. Look at the Cleveland Browns. Nick Chubb is out. Nick Chubb is the person who is splitting carries with Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford is going to be the workhorse. He's going to be the power back. He's going to get the ball most often. So I think just on a volume opportunity, I think you're going to get more touches from Jerome Ford, meaning more opportunities to get you points. So if you go with Rachaad White, I mean, good luck. And you know, he does tend to get some nice passing touchdowns from Baker Mayfield out of the backfield. He really does. But I just think Bucky White's going to cannibalize his opportunities. So based on that alone, I'm going to flip-flop those. So yeah, accumulated points, you're saying. That's wild. Well, good luck in the fantasy football playoffs for you. I mean, like I said, I got knocked out of the expanded league last week. Now both of my dynasty teams, I think I'm the 1 seed in one and the 2 seed in the other. You just never know who's going to have a baller game. You have no idea who's going to just go bonkers for you. So, like I said, you dance with the ones that brought you. You go out to the school dance, and you got some people there. You hang out with the people you went with. You know, like if you got some superstars, maybe they haven't had, you know, maybe they've been a little inconsistent. You got to bank on the potentiality. That doesn't always work out. You also ride the hot hand. Oh, you know, I wish I was in more leagues where the entirety of my roster counted. What do they call that? Best ball? Or like most points scored, highest points, best roster. I don't know what they call it because I've never been in a league like it. But, you know, I really dislike having a tight end on my bench that puts up 24 points and my guy that was in gave me 6. And I'm like, oh, come on. Who saw that coming? I really like the concept of just whoever scores the most in your position or on your roster gets those position points. Okay, here we go. Last question. Pick one. Okay, so this is for wide receiver 2. Wide receiver 2. Okay. You have Thielen. Is Thielen who you want here? Let me go back and see what Thielen did last week. Panthers. Oh, there's the box score. Targeted 7 times. 5 catches, 51 yards, no touchdowns. Jalen Coker, he got 6 targets and got 110 yards and a touchdown. Panthers this week, you are playing Cardinals. Yeah. Versus Cardinals at home. I like Marvin Harrison Jr. If I'm looking at who's the most talented player here, he's got to be up there. So I would actually put, and look, this is entertainment purposes only. You got to trust your own instinct and trust your own heart. But far be it from me to steer you away with bad decisions, bad advice rather, to cause bad decisions to help you lose a fantasy football championship. So your decisions are your own, trust your gut, but no way in the world do I pick Thielen there. No way. I think the most talented player in this group is Marvin Harrison Jr. That's who I would go with. Yeah, and by the way, I will do any fantasy football question you have, drop it right now. I will give you all my fantasy football advice, picks, tips, advice, strategies, whatever, suggestions. I will say Jalen McMillan, man. You know, he stepped into that Chris Godwin role nicely. Young player, but when Baker finds a rapport with somebody, man, they're locked in. If you remember Baker Mayfield on the Cleveland Browns, he turned Rashad Higgins into a superstar. He was a very, very good player for us because they were just on the same page. I see it with Jalen McMillan. McMillan's a nice choice, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is a nice choice for wide receiver too. So yeah, I would bench Thielen, and I would do a coin flip, Marvin Harrison Jr. or McMillan for sure. That's an easy one for me. I don't know that you could go wrong with Marvin Harrison Jr. or McMillan. Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. is the most talented of those 3, and maybe McMillan is in the best situation with the highest pass volume. And Baker's just kind of clicking. He's on a roll. I don't know that Kyler Murray's on a roll. That's what gives me a little bit of pause there on Marvin Harrison Jr. I'd probably go with McMillan. Second choice, Marvin Harrison Jr. Third choice, Adam Thielen. Owen Ninja Gamer. What up, Owen? Thanks for joining us here on Strictly Football on the Unhappy Hour. Would I start Jackson Smith in Jigba over Jennings, even in the rainy game? Let me look up something here about this week and I want to see the status of the knee on Geno Smith. I'll call him Nino Smith because it's about his knee. Nino Smith. It's so stupid. Nino. All right, so his knee's injured. Let me go to switch the week. We'll go to 16. Where's Nino Smith? Who's he playing? Where are we at? Scrolling. Keep the scrolling. Vikings. Okay. Where's it going to tell me the knee? Okay, let me go on Twitter X. Are you following us on X? Our football show is at TNAM Football and at the Unhappy Hour _. Can you do me a quick favor and follow us on both of those? At TNAM Football, at the Unhappy Hour _. Okay, let me look up Geno Smith's knee on X. Offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb says that QB Geno Smith took every rep with the Seahawks starting offense in practice 4 days after he injured his knee. The play caller is counting on Smith playing Sunday, and he's convinced he will. He's a warrior. Okay. Geno Smith says he expects to play Sunday versus Minnesota. His injured knee is feeling better. He will be playing at less than 100%. No excuses. Yeah, showing this picture here where Geno's limping on the sideline in those wild neon green. Man, he looks beefy too. Has he put on some girth? He looks beefy. It's not a great thing. So anyway, he said he's doing better. Watching this Tyler Lockett pass. Yeah, I would. I'd start Jackson Smith and Jigba over Jennings. I would. I just don't know what the 49ers have left. You reach a point where it's almost like you wave the towel, you wave the flag, the white flag of like for mercy. 49ers are on their third, fourth, fifth running back now. They've had a lot of injuries. They're last place in their division. I'm going to take Jackson Smith and Jigba. I had him in my fantasy league. He did fairly well for me this year. He was okay. He was good. And I think in a slightly better system, he could be great. He's a great player. I'm a Buckeye fan. I watch these games. Fantastic player. So yeah, I would start JSN over Jennings. Absolutely. All right. That is all I have to answer on the fantasy football front. Thank you for following us and joining us. Stay tuned. Don't know when our next show is going to be because of all of the holiday festivities, but we'll be back on the Agree to Disagree show covering current events and the Unhappy Hour talking sports and Strictly Football talking strictly football. Thank you to everybody in the chat room for joining us. Mike Bara sends his regards. His internet is out, but we were able to read his picks and his Vegas betting tips. And those Vegas betting tips are just like, hey, I'm going to lay out some of the mathematical trends. Do with that what you will. I took those trends that told me I should probably go with the Steelers, but I kind of read it a little different. I went with Baltimore. And I think the eye test just shows me I think they're a better team. I think they're a better team. Maybe they're due. We'll see. But I definitely picked different games than Mike this week we're going to have some more separation. Can I improve on my 112 and 112 record, or will I slip back into obscurity, into embarrassment? We shall see. Oh, geez. Okay, here's another. Get in your final fantasy football questions. Any question you have, type it right now. Give me all of your fantasy football questions. Hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment on the, I don't know how you're watching this. Are you, and yeah, here's another question. If you can type it in the comments, how are you watching us right now? Are you on a Mike Bara channel? Are you on a channel for the New American Media? Are you on a Strictly Football channel? And are you on X, YouTube, or Rumble? Let me know. I'm just very curious. Okay. Owen Ninja Gamer asks 2 more Qs. Baker or Burrow? Golly, man. Whoo. Baker or Burrow? Look, Baker's like number 3 in the league in touchdown passes. Joe Burrow, where's he at? He's actually, let me pull up the stats. NFL stats. Let me share this screen. JSN or Brees? Brees didn't do much last week. JSN, God, these might be coin flips. Owen says he's watching on YouTube. Thanks, Owen. Let me full screen this as best I can. That's the best I can. Okay. You're asking me to pick between number 4 Baker Mayfield and number 1 Joe Burrow. Let's break this down a little bit. In 14 games, Baker has a higher completion percentage, almost 71%. Joe Burrow, almost 69%. Passing yards, Joe Burrow has the most, 39.77. Baker's not far back, 36.17. He's 4th. Average, 7.5, 7.8, very similar. Yards per game, it looks like Burrow has about 30 yards more a game. Longer pass of the year from Burrow, 70 to Baker's 57. They're not separated by much in the touchdown component, or touchdown. There you go. Touchdowns on the year at quarterback. Burrow, 36. Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry, Lamar Jackson. Who I am for real. Never meant to throw an interception. I apologized for it happening. All right, so Joe Burrow, 36. Lamar Jackson, 34. Baker Mayfield, 32. Jared Goff, 30. I mean, that's more passing touchdowns than Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, or Jordan Love. And Patrick Mahomes, and Bo Nix, and Matthew Stafford, and Kirk Cousins, and Jalen Hurts. So do with that what you will. Baker, more interceptions, 14-8 from Joe Burrow. So that's something to keep in mind. Sacked the exact same number of times, 33. QBR, Burrow's up 20 points there. And then the rating, that's only separated by 3, 104 to 107, advantage Burrow. Look, I could easily go on a coin flip here. I could easily coin flip this. You know, I don't want to be lame and just give you the coin flip. I really don't. Oh, where's the team? I'm trying to see the team. Who did I say Baker's playing this week? All right, I guess I got to click on Tampa Bay. All right, at Cowboys. Let's do a deep dive here. At Dallas. I don't know. Their defense doesn't look terrible. They haven't given up a ton. Look, let me just say this. If you go with Joe Burrow, nobody can fault you. Nobody can fault you. If you go with Baker, you might have a little bit more explaining to do, but I don't think anybody could fault you. He's the number 3 quarterback this year. To think the Browns threw him in the trash like they knew better. Screw them. Here's Deshaun Watson, all the way at number 37. Look at all these bums. Lower than Mason Rudolph. For comparison's sake, all right? Look, the Browns defense can be hit or miss. We've been torched plenty of times. That was maybe a little earlier in the season. Because they can have miscommunication and leaving people wide open. And if you do that with Jamar Chase back there, Burrow finds it and lights it. But Burrow also stands in the pocket and takes a lot more sacks. Like I said, the same number of sacks as Baker, but he's going up against Myles Garrett, who can be very disruptive. Myles can completely take over games. I don't know if the Cowboys are really performing on that disruptive defensive standout this year. So I would, in that case, I would go Burrow. You got to ride the hot hand. They're both hot. So like, how do you pick? I mean, Burrow is just, he's got some slightly better numbers. I don't think you can go wrong here. I would go Burrow, and I'd be fine with Baker. JSN or Brees? These guys fall into the same category for me. Super talented players. Some of the most talented players at their positions, no doubt. Have they really fine-tuned their craft and found a steady, consistent system for them to play in? Look, Geno's going to play because he's a warrior, but he's not going to be 100%. He will be limited. And what's that going to look like? Is he willing to stand an extra second or two and take a hit? Is he going to be able to roll out of the pocket to really evade and let JSN find open space for those, 10, 15-yard completions to keep the sticks moving? That's tricky. And Brees Hall, super talented. He just hasn't been able to put up the consistent numbers as much. I guess the question, I don't know, is PPR or standard? I don't love. Okay, here's the difference between Baker versus Burrow. I like both of those both options there. I like both options. JSN or Brees, I don't really love either of those options. Either of them can be perfect for you, but I don't really love either of those two options just because I don't know that they can consistently be there. In the Geno Smith injury, I would probably pick JSN if Geno was healthy. And they said he's playing, but he's going to be limited. Is that 5%, 50% difference? I don't know. But I think if you flip a coin on JSN or Brees, you're going to get roughly the same result. You're going to be looking for a touchdown. They're going to be touchdown dependent. I don't know if they're really going to be high volume people that are just going to crank up the stats. I think they're going to be touchdown dependent. But final answer on that, I'm going to go with Burrow. Burrow and Brees. I'm going to go with Brees Hall because I think they're hot at the right time. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, if they're flowing, that's going to open up the opportunities for the running back and the running back out of the backfield as well. Because, tight ends are often the security blanket for the quarterback, especially the 40-year-old quarterback that doesn't want to get hit and he's throwing it a little too quick. Running backs are that security blanket. They're just like a tight end right there. Give me a dump off and get me in space. Let me go run. So I'll say Burrow and Brees. I'd be fine with Baker or JSN as well. Okay, that's all I got. Signing out to you. I appreciate you all. We will see you again soon. Take care. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Do something nice for somebody. We'll talk to you soon. Do something nice for somebody.